All right, so the Final Fantasy set just recently dropped, and every commander seems to be a banger. And Sephiroth is no exception, no slouch. Probably one of the best outside of VV, but we'll talk about that in another video. But if you're looking for something mono black, aristocrat, and can just drain the table and have fun while you're doing it, this is your guy. This is your king. This is your new king. And I played this tonight at my locals with my pod, with a different pod, and it gets crazy really, really quick. But enough with all the banter. We're gonna go ahead and get to the video. Make sure if you're interested in this, check down the comment below. I will leave the link to the deck list. Now, this deck list is graded at a bracket 3. Could I have made it a lot smellier and slimier? Of course. Will I? Probably. Because just with the list that I have now, it has to happen. This is my new favorite guy. This is the new homie. So let's go ahead and get right to the list. Like, comment, subscribe, and let's go ahead and get to it. So Sepharoth reads, when it enters or attacks, you may sacrifice another creature if you do draw a card. One this value already. Being able to sack a creature as soon as he hits or attacks to draw a card. Now his Blood Arts effect, whenever another creature dies, opponent loses, target opponent loses 1 life, you gain a life. It's the 4th time this ability resolves this turn. You flip him over. You flip him to the back. You get an emblem. He has flying, and he's a 5/5. He gets the same thing on an emblem. But also, whenever he attacks, you may sacrifice any number of other creatures you have on attack, not damage, on attack, and draw that many cards. There's not really much more that you can ask for. He's already a 5/5. He has flying. They could have made him busted, gave him hexproof, something like that. Okay, cool. But this is all you need. Now let's go ahead and get into the rest of the deck, starting with our artifacts here. We have Crowded Crypt, solely a mana rock, but late game, as creatures are dying and you're sacking off your creatures, you're going to add corpse counters to this thing. And then you can pay 6, sacrifice the artifact, and create 2/2 black zombies with decay for each corpse counter on this artifact. Now, the good fun part about this is not restricted to sorcery speed. You can do this at the end of your opponent's turn to get these things active. If for some reason you needed to swing with them in order to kill your opponent. But this deck, we're not doing that. We're painting and draining everyone that we play against. We want the zombies solely for sack pieces. That's it. That's why we have a card like Spawning Pit. Sack a creature, which could be one of the zombies, put a charge counter on it, and then you can pay 1, remove 2 charge counters, and make a 2/2 colorless spawn creature token. Just another free sack outlet. We really don't care about making the spawns, but they can come in handy at some point. Bantu's Monument reduces all your black creature spells by 1. Whenever you cast a creature spell, each opponent loses a life, gain life. Pain and Drain, plain and simple. Jet Medallion, reduction. Lightning Greaves. Honestly, I'll probably end up killing off my own commander myself. So, dude, I don't really care about keeping them safe, but I care about keeping them safe, right? Arcane Signet, just more ramp that we like to have. And then we have Skull Clamp, clamp it on the creature when it dies, because we're going to make sure it dies. We draw 2 cards. Soul Ring, it's Soul Ring. And then we have Bolas Citadel. Now, this is one of those cards that people, it's a game changer. And it can get a little spooky, because there's a lot of cards in here that you can cast. And you have a lot of life that you're going to get, that you can work with to get the most out of Bolas Citadel. So, there's that. A lot of things can be done with this card. Definitely worthy of being a game changer. Now we're going to go to our creatures. We're running 30 creatures in this list. We're running Braids. This came off the ban list. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices an artifact, creature, or land. Now, of course, seems like a very grimy card. We want our opponents to, sack stuff. Majority of the time, they're not going to want to get rid of their artifacts or their lands. Sometimes it just gets to that point. But if they can afford to sack a creature, they will. But wait, triggers the emblem. Yep, they take a life. I'll gain a life. I'll take that. 9 lives familiar is here solely because you basically get 8 sacks out of this guy. It reads whenever you cast it, it gets 8 revival counters on it. When it dies, if it had a revival counter on it, return it to the battlefield with 1 fewer revival counter on it at the beginning of the next instep. So this card doesn't have to be restricted to just your instep it coming back, but it has 8 counters on it. You have a spawning pit on board at the end of each turn or anyone's main phase. You can spawning pit, sack it off, trigger the emblem, it dies, instep, it comes back. Do that a few times around the table. You can really get your mileage out of it. Undercity Dire Rat, this is honestly just a card that I put in here. It does give us some value solely whenever it dies. It creates a treasure token, which is fine. This card will probably get replaced somewhere down the road. Zodiac Umbral God. Now, it has 5 black pips, but is a 5/5 indestructible. And it reads when it enters, each player sacrifices half the non-god creature they control of their choice, rounded down. Whenever a player sacrifices another creature, put a 1 more counter on Zodiac. Now, this might seem like, oh, how does this help your deck? So, ETBs, each player sacks half the non-god creatures. I'm never going to have a problem sacking any of my creatures off, rounding down, because I want to sack them off, especially once my emblem is on the board. Of course, that's exactly what I want to do. But whenever a player sacrifices another creature, put a 1/1 counter on Zodiac. So, let's say everyone sacks 5 creatures around the table apiece. That's 21/1 counters on Zodiac. You can do some cheeky stuff with a 25/25 indestructible on the board. Or you can just sack them off. Doesn't matter. You don't really need them. But it enables big sack triggers for your emblem to pop off. So I think that was definitely a good addition that I added to the deck. Beedmere, Ramp. Misfortune Teller is here for ETBs and when it deals combat damage to a player, but more for the ETB. Exile target card from the graveyard. If it was a creature card, create a 2/2. We want it for the sack. If it's a land card, create a treasure token, which we do like treasure tokens. Otherwise, you gain 3 life. I'm never going to worry about 3 life because I'm going to gain so much life. The life from this card will never matter. I want to sack it. I want to be able to have the ability to get a creature card from the graveyard. Make a creature. Or make a treasure. Because you'll see why we need treasures in this deck too. For an alternate win condition. You probably know what it is. Or Zarb Enforcer, just another creature that once it dies, it makes another creature for you. Forsaken Miner is an MVP in this list. Anytime you use your emblem's ability for a target opponent, you can pay black, bring it back from the graveyard to the battlefield. That's all it is. It is one of those cheeky sack outlets. Greedy Freebooter is here whenever it dies. Scry 1 and create a treasure token. Treasures are never, never bad. Whisper Blood Liturgist. You can tap it, sack 2 creatures, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now, this is where things get a little fun because you bring it back to the battlefield. And as you'll see, there's some cards in here that we wouldn't mind bringing back from our graveyard to the battlefield and getting value out of. Disciple Bolas. Whenever this creature enters, sacrifice another creature. You gain X life and draw X cards where X is that creature's power. Now, remember the hypothetical we talked about with this god right here. Zodiac. If he's a 25/25, when we drop a Disciple Bolus, we gain 25, we draw 25 cards just to dig through and find answers and put stuff in our graveyard. Morbid Opportunist is here just for the card draw trigger at least once a turn. Nothing crazy, but it's a very good value card. Got a Sembling Skeleton. Pick 1 in a black, return this card from the graveyard to the battlefield. Marauding Blight Priest. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. You got Grave Titan. Death Touch. Whenever it enters or attacks, create 2 black zombie creature tokens. The 2 tokens are there. Once again, this is aristocrats sack value. So the more creatures, the better. Marionette Apprentice, mainly for the servo, the life drain, Reaper of the Abyss. 6/4/6/6 flying morbid at the beginning of each end step. If a creature died this turn, destroy target non-demon creature. Now, this might seem like a lot, but it has flying. It costs 6. It's a 6/6, and it has a end-step trigger if a creature died. Our deck is always going to make something die. You can use his ability to target something else, which could be a problematic creature that your opponent controls, which also triggers your emblem. Priest of Forgotten Gods, sacrifice 2 other creatures. Any number of target players loses 2 life and sacks a creature. You add 2 black and draw a card. It's just value. There's a lot on this. Sack 2 creatures. You can make all 3 of your opponents, or however you have in your pod, each lose 2 life. And sacrifice a creature. You gain black mana and you draw a card. Can't really beat that. Gravecrawler. Gravecrawler is the combo machine in this deck, and I haven't even had to use it yet. And I quite don't have it built to use it as such, but it is an option in the list. Curse Marauder, we're sacking. Junji, this deck is not really built to win by combat. We're winning by drain. I want to play this guy solely to kill him. Either whittle away in my opponent's hands because I see they might have 2 cards, so now I'm going to get them down to 1. Or I could bring a problem creature that I have, or from anyone else's graveyard onto the battlefield under my control, and I lose 2 life for it. So it's almost a reanimate effect on a creature once it dies. Playcrafter. This card has been a star. I've used this card about 5 times in a single game. Just bringing it back. Making my opponent sack, triggering Sephiroth on the front side to flip instantly, and just go to work. Blood Artist is do more for the commander. Pitiless Plunderer, MVP. One of the MVP cards in the list. You get as many treasures as you can sack another creature. So we can kind of pair some stuff together of why this card is so good. We got good old Gary, Grave Merchant, Repainting and Draining, Archfiend of Depravity. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, that player chooses up to 2 creatures they control, then sacrifices the rest. So if they have a go wide strat, they run a lot of little tokens. They only get to pick 2 creatures, and they got to sack off the rest. Let's say they have 10. They sack 8. That's 8 emblem triggers. Kind of hard to beat. So chances are, if they have to sack the creatures, I'm going to hit them. I'm going to target them 8 times. That's just how that's going to work. Braids, sack outlet for us. We all know what Brains does. Arcana Cruelty, I kind of just put in here just to have a big bomb that can do something on ETB or attack. Making our opponent sack a creature. 1, we want it. Or a Planeswalker they have. Played against a guy that had a Planeswalker as his commander. So that was pretty cheeky to get this guy on board. They discard a card, they lose 3 life. We draw a card, and we gain. It's a lot of text, a lot of value. We're forward. Keurig, Son of Yawgmoth. This guy has been my mono black commander for the longest. And I'm so glad that I can put him in the 99 and just enjoy him in the 99. He's not bad. He has lifelink. Makes all our black pips cost 2 life per, which is great. We don't mind that because we gain a lot of life in this deck. Doesn't bother us. And then, of course, we can always swing with him and get it back once he gets bigger. Shieldred Whisperer 1, just here solely for the upkeep for us. Return target creature card from the graveyard to the battlefield. We can abuse a lot of different things with this. And then at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, making them sack a card, which once again, we are abusing that as well. Enchantments. Phyrexian Arena. Beginning your upkeep, draw a card and lose life. Straight value for us because we gain life in this deck. Phyrexian Reclamation, paying 2 life, return to our creature card from graveyard to my hand. If we really want to get something back from our graveyard to our hand, we can. It's not really going to bother us too much. Black market, whenever a creature dies, you see what we're doing here. Put a charge counter on black market. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add black for each charge counter on black market. Now, this can get crazy. This can get very crazy when a board white hits and there's a lot of creatures on the board. Having black to have in your pool every pre-combat main phase, it can get bad. Bastion of Remembered solely just for the token, but the little nuance of when a creature you control dies, each opponent loses and I gain, just straight value. Black Market Connection. So chances are we're always going to go treasure and we're drawing a card. We're not going to care. Or if we're pushing it and we're getting this life gain consistently, we might as well just go ahead and make the Shapeling so we can have another creature to sack. It's a good feeling. Blood Chief Ascension. So at the beginning of each end step, if an opponent lost 2 or more life this turn, which chances are they will, put a quest counter on Blood Chief. Whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, if Blood Chief Ascension has 3 or more quest counters on it, you may have to play a lose 2 life. If you do, gain 2 life. Value. Value, value. No mercy. Whenever a creature deals damage to you, destroy it. It's just doing a lot. Revel in Riches. This is where the treasures come in handy. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, create a colorless treasure artifact token. We all know what it does. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more treasures, you win the game. Now, I have the soul in here. One, I'm gonna kill a lot of creatures. Not just on my side, but on my opponent's side of the board too. I want Revel in Riches to be there just because. Do I need it? No. But do I like it there? Yes. Pitiless Plunder can make a lot of things happen when you're sacking a grave crawler. But maybe we're getting a little bit too ahead of ourselves. Revel in Riches is just in here for the flavor. That's it. Grave Pack is here. Whenever a creature you control dies, each other player sacrifices a creature. Now, you're probably wondering, why am I just doing so much? I'm gonna sack my creature off. Make my opponent sack a creature off. If each of them sack a creature, that's 3 treasures for Revel in Riches. Just that quick. Just that quick. We're almost halfway there. Just like that. With us having sack outlets that we do have, I just keep sacking creatures, targeting each opponent, making them lose some life, make all these treasures, and then make them commit. Either they're gonna have, a way to kill me, or when it comes back around, I just win with Revel in Riches. Now our instant package. Fatal Push has been low-key a star in here solely because it gets around indestructible. Neg 13, neg 13. Oh, excuse me. Wrong card. Fatal Push. Destroy target creature if its mana value is 2 or less. This is good for Esper Sentinel. We don't like Esper Sentinel. We don't like Dranith Magistrate. We don't like Voice of Victory. These cards have to go. Alright. Black Sun's Twilight. Other one target creature gets -X to end a turn. If X is 5 or more, return a creature card mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So a lot of times I'm getting Gray Merchant. Every time. That's just how that's gonna happen. Didn't even know about Black Sun Zenith until I randomly stumbled upon it in my bulk, and that's why I put it in this list. The other dispute is just no cost to cast a spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. We're sacking a creature. Draw 2 cards, create a treasure token. We'll do that. We'll take it. Pick your own death until in a turn, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains when this creature dies. Return to the battlefield tapped under your opponent's control and create a treasure token. On the one instance that we do want to save our commander, maybe from a board wipe or so, we'll cast Fake Your Own Death. Keep it safe. Make a treasure token. Also, if Revel in Riches is out and it's a board wipe and that creatures die, we're just gonna, feed more treasures, and then our upkeep comes around and then we win because we have 10 treasures. I like that too. Tragic Slip. Now this Tragic Slip has been very good for us because it gets around indestructible, and his morbid is whenever a creature died this turn. So something I sack, something I make my opponent sack, it doesn't matter. Activates Tragic Slip and can get those problematic creatures off the board. Cool of the week. Sacrifice a creature, add 4 black mana to your mana pool. I'm with it. Soul Shatter was something that I ended up adding to the list that I didn't have in here initially. Each opponent sacks a creature or planeswalker with the highest mana value among creatures and planeswalkers they control. So one, this can hit a planeswalker, or this can hit high mana value creatures. Usually most high mana value creatures actually usually are pretty good. So if we can get 3 sack triggers off of this, if we're on our front side for some reason, or we just want to clear a creature off really quick to get Sephiroth flipped, Soul Shatter is a good instant way to go ahead and make that happen. Dark Ritual, ramp. We know what that does. Land package, Reliquary Tower. We can definitely dig through this deck and fill our hand pretty well. Shizo, just to give target legendary creature fear into the end of turn. I mean, it's for 1 black. And tap it. We can do that for our commander. We run 30 swamps. Cabal Coffers has come in clutch for us in an Ancient Tomb. We don't care about the 2 damage that it does because we're going to get it all back. Planeswalker. We run Liliana Dreadhorde General solely because whenever a creature you control dies, we draw a card. But then also a +1, we make a zombie. You can sack the zombie, draw a card, drain our opponent, all that good stuff. Sorceries. We have Blasphemous Edict. We don't mind wiping the board. Fine, we'll take it. Once we get the emblem, it's a wrap. I got this tonight and had 26 emblem triggers. So, sounds like a good time. Dread Return. 2 black, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So many options with this. Junji, Great Merchant. You have your options. But then it also has a flashback effect to sack 3 creatures. What do you know? Don't mind if I do sack 3 of my creatures to get more of what my deck is supposed to do. Just to get a creature right back out. Beat a Swarm, destroy target creature or enchantment. Under opponent controls, you lose life equal to the permanent's mana value. For 1 in a black, and for what our deck does with the life gain that we have, this is essentially free. Let's go ahead and get a Rhystic Study off the table, a Smothering Tithe off the table. We make that happen. Goes to Prison, Propaganda. List can go on and on. Basically free. Victimize. Choose 2 target cards in your graveyard. Sacrifice a creature. You hear that. If you do, return the chosen cards to the battlefield tapped. So, you remember that dragon that we talked about? Whenever it dies, we get value, make our opponent ditch 2. They lose 2. Or I bring a non-dragon creature from a graveyard back to the battlefield under my control and only lose 2 life. Victimize is one of those cards I'm going to target with it, as well as Dread Return, as well as probably the next card, Reanimate. We're just going to bring it so we can sack it back off, get more value, more creatures. Toxic Deluge was a star because life in this deck doesn't matter. Played against a Heir Apparent deck and he had 20 of them on board, and Toxic Deluge for 2 to kill them all off, and then have emblem triggers is a nice feeling. Rise of the Dark Realms for 9. Put all creature cards from all graveyards on the battlefield under your control. This is just because I'm bored or I just want to do something different. Because I'm going to kill a lot and I'm going to sack a lot of my guys, but I'll make sure to bring them all back just to sack them off again. Beseech the Mirror is here for bargain. You get to search the library for a card, exile it face down. The shuffle of the spell was bargain. You may cast it without paying its mana cost. If it's 4 or less, put the exile card into your hand. If it wasn't, cast this way. So usually what I target with this is non-lives familiar, which is the cat, because you can kill it multiple times, or play crafter. So usually the cards that I search for, but you can also, there's so many options in this deck. The ball is in your court, however you want to do it with Beseech the Mirror. Now, this is the list that I ran, and I know there were a few cards that we could add to the list that could just push the deck over. Now, I want to talk about why you should run these cards, and then why you shouldn't run these cards. And of course, there's more. So, our maybe board. Soul Trader. Pay life. Sack another creature. Create a treasure token. What this does for the game, one is a zombie. You pay a life. You sack another creature, which would be Gravecrawler. Create a treasure token. Pitiless Plunderer. When another your creatures die, create a treasure token. You create the treasure token. You cast the Gravecrawler again. You sack it back off. You do this infinite amount of times. You drain the whole table. The whole board dies. Because you net zero on life. It's a sack outlet. You're creating 2 treasure tokens. So you're always going to have mana to bring the Gravecrawler back. So, by all means, if you have it and you want to run a list, run it. Blasting Station. Tap it, sack a creature, blast station, deal 1 damage to target creature or player. Whenever a creature comes into play, you may untap Blasting Station. Now, what this does, you tap it, you sack the Gravecrawler, 1 damage to your opponent. Pitiless Plunder is out. You use that treasure, bring the Gravecrawler back if you control the zombie. Untap Blasting Station. You know what to do. We're just doing this over and over until everyone's dead. If you have the card, run it. Phyrexian Altar is the same way. Pitiless Plunder out, but you don't even need Pitiless Plunder. You can just sack it, add 1 mana of any color. You're going to add black. You're going to sack Gravecrawler. You're going to have another zombie on board, which my deck does very well. And just keep getting die triggers over and over and over and over and over. Altar of Dementia. Sack a creature, which will always be Gravecrawler. You're going to put number of cards equal to the sacrifice creature's power on top of the library in their graveyard. So, of course, you got to have a zombie. You got to sack it off. You got to have Pitiless Plunderer. And you got to have Gravecrawler. 4 pieces. That's it. Infinite. Sanguine Bond. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. So, there's some things with this. There's some things with this that you can go the Sanguine Bond route, coupled with Exquisite Blood. Whenever opponent loses life, you gain that much life. So once you gain the life, target opponent loses that much life, and you just back and forth until everyone's dead. Another card that we can put in the list and that will get added to the list is Aetherflux Reservoir. If you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn. And you can pay 50 life and deal 50 damage to target creature or player. So you kind of can see where this is going. We can we can just infinite, pretty much. That's all we need. As long as we have Gravecrawler, another zombie, Pitiless Plunderer, all these cards infinite. Every single one of them infinite. Sanguine Bond and Exquisite Blood also go very well with, if I can find it when I need to find it, goes very well with, I don't know where it went. Marauding Blight Priest. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses a life. So, whenever I gain life, you lose 1 life. And then when you lose 1 life, Sanguine Bond triggers, target opponent loses that much life. So, there's many different avenues in this deck that can kind of get you over. Now, my list is nowhere near optimal. It's not the fastest. There's plenty of things in here that I can run. Like I own Aetherflux, Sanguine Bond, Exquisite Blood. I can buy a Worn Soul Trader. For version 1, I've enjoyed it. I know what it can do if I add certain cards to it. But keep in mind the bracket of the table that you're playing at. If you're playing at a table that people are running 3s and 4s, where the list is at now, you will have a blast. If you want to spice it up a little bit, keep these cards in the maybe board. Keep them in your mind. Make room for them. Slide them in. Maybe you can have 2 different versions that you take 6 cards out, add 6 cards, take 10 cards out, add 10 cards, just to push the power level if you still want to play the deck, but you want to play with higher bracket tables. So that is that. Sephiroth is a beast. It is a menace. You will not go wrong playing this deck. The premise of you make creature, you sack creature. Your opponent has creatures, I'll kill those creatures too. I gain, they drain, game over. If you like the list, comment the word down below. We're going to comment the word Mustang if you enjoyed my list and you've watched it to the end. And if you watched to the end and you're not following, you're not subscribed, you haven't clicked the like, I'm going to need you to go ahead and do that. All right. So like, comment, subscribe. Link will be in the comments down below. Build this. If you pull it, build it. I promise you. Let me know how you enjoyed it.